The perfect family portrait hid a secret, and that secret demanded blood. In a quiet suburban neighborhood in Houston, Texas, where manicured lawns and two-car garages spoke of the American dream, the Mahmoud family was a pillar of the local Pakistani-American community. To their friends and neighbors, they were the embodiment of success and tradition. The father, Karim, a respected engineer, was a man of quiet authority. His wife, Farah, was a gracious hostess, known for her elaborate dinners. And at the center of it all was their daughter, Layla, a 19-year-old with a bright future ahead of her, a pre-med student at the local university whose laughter once echoed in the hallways of their immaculate home. But beneath the surface of this idyllic life, a storm was brewing, fueled by a clash of cultures and a rigid, unyielding definition of honor. The trouble began subtly. Layla, embracing the freedoms of her American upbringing, started to change. She spent more time with friends from university, a diverse group that included young men. She adopted a more Western style of dress, trading her traditional shalwar kameez for jeans and t-shirts when she was away from home. To her parents, especially her father and her older brother Imran, these were not the harmless explorations of a young woman finding herself. They were seen as deliberate acts of defiance, a public rejection of their values that brought shame upon the entire family. Whispers within the community, real or imagined, began to feel like indictments to Karim. Each late night at the library, every unfamiliar friend on social media, was another crack in the family's carefully constructed reputation. Tensions simmered behind closed doors, arguments muffled by thick walls and a shared desire to maintain appearances. The breaking point came when Layla confessed to her mother that she had fallen in love. He was a classmate, a young man named Daniel who was not of their faith, not of their culture. For Layla, it was a story of happiness and connection. For her family, it was a nuclear bomb detonating on their legacy. Karim saw it as the ultimate betrayal, a stain that could never be washed away. Imran, who idolized his father, viewed his sister's actions as a personal insult, a corruption of their bloodline. The atmosphere in the house became thick with a cold, seething anger. The loving family dinners ceased, replaced by silent meals and accusatory glares. Layla, once the cherished daughter, was now treated as a stranger, a problem that required a permanent solution. The plan was not born of a heated moment, but of a cold, calculated consensus. It was presented not as murder, but as a necessary purification. On a humid Tuesday night, the air heavy with the threat of rain, the family's facade of normalcy was weaponized. Layla was told they were going to have a family meeting to discuss her future, to find a compromise. There was to be no compromise. As Layla sat on the living room sofa, perhaps still harboring a sliver of hope for understanding, her father and brother stood before her. The argument that ensued was not loud, but intense and final. Karim laid out the charges, her disobedience, her disrespect, the irreparable shame she had brought upon them. He spoke of honor, a word that now sounded like a death sentence. What happened next was swift and brutal. As Karim gave a silent nod, Imran moved. There was no weapon but their hands, a brutal, intimate violence that spoke of a desire to erase her completely. The struggle was short-lived. The life was extinguished from Layla Mahmoud not by a stranger in a dark alley, but by the very people who had sworn to protect her. The house, once a symbol of their achievement, was now a tomb, its silence broken only by the heavy breathing of the killers and the distant rumble of the gathering storm. The cleanup was methodical, a final, grim duty. Layla's body was wrapped in a sheet, a symbol of the purity they believed they were reclaiming. Under the cover of darkness, they transported her to a remote, wooded area on the outskirts of the county, burying her in a shallow, unmarked grave, as if she had never existed. Layla's absence was explained away with a story. Karim and Farah told concerned friends and university officials that Layla, unable to handle the pressures of her studies and family expectations, had run away to live with a friend in another state. They played the part of the distraught, bewildered parents perfectly. But their story began to unravel quickly. Layla's friends, particularly Daniel, were adamant. This was not the Layla they knew. She was excited about her classes. She spoke of her future with ambition, and she had made no mention of leaving. She had vanished without a trace, leaving behind her wallet, her phone, and all her belongings. The police, initially filing a missing persons report, grew suspicious of the family's stoic, almost rehearsed demeanor. The lack of panic, the refusal to make public pleas, it all felt wrong. The investigation turned into a psychological chess match. Detectives worked to separate the family members, probing for inconsistencies. It was Farah, the mother, whose resolve cracked first under the weight of a guilt she could no longer bear. In a quiet interview room, away from the imposing presence of her husband, the carefully constructed wall of lies crumbled. Through tears of anguish and remorse, she confessed to the whole sordid truth. She revealed the location of Layla's body and detailed the conspiracy of honor that had led to her daughter's murder. Karim and Imran were arrested at their home, their masks of respectability finally torn away to reveal the murderers beneath. At their trial, the chilling motive was laid bare for the court to hear. They had killed Layla not out of hatred for her but out of a twisted fanatical love for an ancient code that valued reputation more than human life. In the end, the Mahmoud family achieved a perverse kind of immortality, but not the one they had intended. They are not remembered for their honor, but for the brutal crime they committed in its name. Layla's story is not one of shame, but of a life full of promise, brutally cut short. Her grave, now properly marked, lies in a peaceful cemetery, a place of mourning, not of secrecy. It stands as a silent, haunting rebuke to the warped logic that condemned her, a permanent scar on the American landscape that serves as a grim reminder that the most dangerous threats can sometimes live right under our own roof, disguised as love, festering in the name of respect.